Hello, it's Josh Bloom, or you can call me Josh Kosh Bagosh, because I used to wear those Oshkosh Bagosh overalls when I was a kid. If you call me that, I will know you listen to the podcast because no one calls me that. It will be a warm feeling and a hearty laugh for the both of us, I am sure. I actually have some pictures of myself in those overalls, and saying I was a kid at the time isn't really accurate. I was more of a baby or toddler, but you can clearly see my personality in these photos. I am using a pretzel rod as a microphone, and if hearing my voice right now doesn't bring it all full circle with a warm feeling and hearty laugh for the both of us, I don't know what will. A toddler in overalls singing into a pretzel rod seems awfully damn wholesome to me. This is episode number 34 of the Josh Kosh Bagosh podcast, also known as the Josh Bloom podcast. It is the latest edition of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration, days 131 through 137. I am on deadline to complete a book about an indie rock band that I am looking forward to telling you more about. But the reason I mention it is because I want you to get excited about some new episodes of the podcast that aren't solely devoted to 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration. Please subscribe to my Substack for updates, or you'll just get some surprises in your podcast feed, which seems awfully damn wholesome to me. This week on the show, we talk about how I haven't gotten over people's selfish behavior during the pandemic, which I was reminded of by seeing a fly in the donut case at ShopRite. Spoiler, I was not deterred from buying my morning donut. Have you ever heard of the band My Morning Donut? Neither have they. I reveal that the leader of the Trump administration's mommy and daddy did not love him. Of course, this is speculation, but stay tuned and I will present my case. I am quite positive that negativity is the worst of human traits. We discuss how I am reminded of Debbie Downer and Gollum from The Lord of the Rings when I receive negative comments on social media from these people. I admit to forgetting to celebrate with you the occasion of reaching 9% of the second and final term of the Trump administration, but we make up for that in style. We discuss willful trust, not willful ignorance displayed by the followers of the leader of the Trump administration. I let you in on my exciting conversation with a lifetime employee of the WWE, and I explain what the leader of the Trump administration has in common with Lady Gaga, of all people. You'll want to listen to the end to find out just what the hell I am talking about. As usual, if you want to watch a compilation of all of this week's original TikTok posts, they are compiled in one video on YouTube. A link is in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and now let's get into 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration. I will be back afterwards. Day 131 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru, and I'm not a chicken either. I'm just trying to help myself. I am still not over how selfish people were during COVID. I thought of this when I saw a fly in the donut case this morning, and I'm not talking about Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis in the film The Fly. Jeff and Gina were not in the donut case. We are delusional if we think the world we live in is anything close to sanitary. Nothing is sanitary. Now, yes, we can make our environment more sanitary, but nothing is completely sanitary. Do you know who is a germaphobe? That's right, the leader of the Trump administration, who, unlike that fly, can't travel very far because chickens aren't able to fly long distances. When I saw that fly in the donut case, knowing what I know about how gross everything actually is, I thought, I'm still buying that donut. And it was delicious. I don't give a shit because, frankly, that fly is probably in better health than I am. It got me thinking about vaccines and how selfish people are. Absolutely selfish. That's what it's about on day 131 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump administration. People's incredibly selfish behavior. Here we were dealing in real time with tens of thousands of people dying worldwide, having to figure out what the hell was going on, having to figure out a solution to what the hell was going on, and how to enact a solution to whatever the hell was going on. Isn't it the height of irony that the only verifiable win for the leader of the Trump administration during his first term was the fast track development of the vaccine? His people hated him for it and let their family members die over it. So selfish. The selfishness in not recognizing that we live in a society, not recognizing how lucky we are to live in an age of technology that keeps us healthy and keeps us alive, and to just decide you are going to endanger your fellow human beings. Even if you refuse the vaccine, people still refuse to wear a mask. A 4-year-old knows that you don't sneeze and breathe all over people because you don't want to get them sick. Nothing is sanitary, but not everything has to be gross. What the hell is wrong with people? What the hell is wrong with the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration? They are like the fly in the donut case. They are going to be there if we notice them or not. Disregard that fly. Enjoy your sweet and ignore the Trump administration. Day 132 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I am just trying to help myself. The office of the presidency is a means to an end. For most presidents, that end is prosperity, productivity, and peace for the American people. It still astounds me that anyone, including his supporters, believes that the leader of the Trump administration is getting out of his golden bed every day to do anything remotely related to being the president of the United States of America. Remember the band, the Presidents of the United States of America? They had that very catchy song, Lump. They had a means to an end too, and that was to make us happy. The presidency is a means to an end for the leader of the Trump administration too. It's a means to gain increasing personal power, to acquire personal wealth, and to use that power and wealth against his enemies because he is angry that mommy did not love him. Spoiler, daddy didn't love him either. I am sorry that happened to him, and I am also sorry that it is happening to us. Everything the leader of the Trump administration does is only that. That is why it is so nonsensical for you or me to spend any time taking in the news, because they continue to insist on covering him as if he were doing anything other than those three things: force, money, and grievance. He enables the people around him, also known as the Trump administration, who share his interest in those three things. Anything any of them are doing related to governance is only tied to how they can enact their will upon the people. Not work for the people, not enact the will of the people, enact their will on the people. And that's it. That's the only way that there is to think about it. When you do, then you understand what the motivation is behind every single act that goes against the Constitution, that goes against empathy for others, and that goes against the law. Damaged human beings are not rare. I hope that all damaged human beings come to terms with their damage. In the case of the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration, these are people who have gathered together in some sort of opposite therapy session to deal with their damage by damaging others. When you combine that will to exert force on people with unbridled, unregulated, unchecked ambition, you end up with mean people who want to use their means to end us. Go and enjoy listening to that fun song, Lump, and ignore the Trump administration. Day 133 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. Negativity. Negativity is the worst quality in human beings. One of the most difficult challenges in making 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration or any content as a content creator is dealing with negativity. If you look through these videos, you will notice a recurring theme, but that theme is not about the leader of the Trump administration. Do you remember the SNL character Debbie Downer? Or perhaps you remember the character Gollum from The Lord of the Rings. Debbie can't help but ruin a good time, and Gollum is a disgusting troll. These are the two characters that I think of when I receive this negative comment so often. You can't be ignoring the Trump administration if you're making videos about the Trump administration. Very clever. These videos are not about the leader of the Trump administration or the Trump administration. They are about us. He and they are just symbols that everyone recognizes. These videos are actually about coming to terms with the fact that life is slipping away every second of the day, and the fact that you are watching this right now is a complete honor. You are giving part of your life to my made up crap, and I appreciate that. The free negativity that is enabled, fostered, and promoted by social media is viewed by some as an indicator of progress. I believe that humanity will one day view it as the catalyst that triggered our decline. It is shocking to me how many people will go out of their way to hurt other people, and social media has served to allow people who might have tendencies of that nature and would never actually behave that way in real life to completely unfucking leash. I know that people behave this way because they are in pain, because they are fearful and uncertain about why they are alive and what happens when they aren't. I believe that's what makes people religious. They want some kind of answer as to why we are here and what will happen next. I am going to let you know that there is no answer. And as much as we want one, we won't get one. You have to make your own goddamn answer. I apologize for taking his name in vain. One of the ways I make answers is to do what I am doing now as a means of satisfying my own curiosity about these questions without answers. When I encourage us to ignore the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration, I am simply recognizing the reality of the unanswerable questions that motivate the behavior of these Debbie Downer and Gollum-like people. Do not spend your precious time on negativity. Ignore the Trump administration. Day 134 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration. I am not a self-help guru. I am not good at math, and I am just trying to help myself. I completely screwed up, but it's a sign of something good. I screwed up because I was ignoring the Trump administration so well that I forgot to let you know on day 132 that it was a celebration day. A celebration of number 9, number 9, number 9, as heard on the White Album by the Beatles. That is 9%. We are 9% through 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration, and that is a time for celebration. Celebrate good times. Come on. You know the song by Kool and the Gang. They are so cool that they don't even need to spell cool correctly. They spell it with a K. You probably have never heard the Beatles and their famous example of musique concrète, also known as Revolution 9, and the incredible celebratory funk jam known as Celebrate by Kool and the Gang mentioned in the same sentence until now, and that is because they don't go together unless you have something to talk about that is as significant as 9% of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. Now, I am a couple of days late, and I hope you will accept my apology. An apology is something the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration will never make about anything. But most people are better than that. I believe we can eventually embrace each other and see supporters of the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration and detractors of the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration find common ground and harmony after we are all done suffering the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration. It is still possible, but for now, I am reminding you that here on day 134 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration to take in less information. Take in less news that does not serve you and that does not provide you with knowledge that enriches your life in any way. It only serves to bring us down, and we do not want to be brought down when we are celebrating number nine, number nine, number nine with KOOL and the gang. When we regain that time and reclaim that space in our minds from the depressing news cycle, we can use those resources to help our brothers, sisters, and others. June is Pride Month, and as a gay, I say, let's try to look at life in a more mindful, optimistic, and hopeful way. This is a time of uncertainty, but we can get through it together if we ignore the Trump administration. Day 135 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I am just trying to help myself. The leader of the Trump administration does not rely on me ignoring the Trump administration. He relies on his followers ignoring the Trump administration, and I do not blame them, because the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration have spent an enormous amount of resources making sure that their followers are uninformed about the goings-on of the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration. Do I believe that followers of the Trump administration are willfully ignorant people? No, I do not. I think they are willfully trusting people, and that is why the leader of the Trump administration loves them so much. Are you familiar with the Elton John hit song, Sad Songs Say So Much? If Elton were to change the lyric to, the leader of the Trump administration loves the willfully trusting so much, that would not be a catchy song, but it would be the leader of the Trump administration's favorite song. Don't worry, it's Pride Month and Elton ain't changing shit. He doesn't write the lyrics anyway. The leader of the Trump administration makes quite certain that his followers are not aware of what he is doing, saying, and planning that goes against their best interests. Why would he want them to be aware of what he is doing? It is because if they are aware of what he is doing, they will not like what he is doing. But that should be clear. You may say, Josh, how the hell do you know what the followers of the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration think about what the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration are doing or not doing? Well, I will tell you. I go out into the community to places where the followers of the leader of the Trump administration gather. I overhear their conversations, and it is clear from listening that they have a perception of the goings-on of the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration that do not align with anything these people say or do when you pay attention to them. And you don't have to pay attention much. What they do align with, however, are the propaganda points of the media outlets, which propagate and publicize that propaganda for the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration to influence the minds of the followers of the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration. To the tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people who may be impacted by the actions of the leader of the Trump administration, let me say this. I envy you. I have to choose to ignore the Trump administration instead of how you, by default, ignore the Trump administration. Day 136 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. My name is Josh Bloom. I'm just trying to help myself. Everybody loves professional wrestling. I'm talking about everybody. You don't build a billion-dollar business like WWE off of only being able to appeal to a niche segment of the population. Today, I overheard a couple next to me start a political conversation at regular volume, and then they started to talk in hushed tones. When I hear a conversation go from regular volume to hushed tones these days, I know it is about the leader of the Trump administration. I got bold and I spoke up. You don't have to talk in hushed tones. They laughed and I added, I like all conversations with all people, and I notice these days that when I'm out in public and conversations turn to politics, people feel like they have to talk in hushed tones, and I believe we would be better off if people did not feel like they had to talk in hushed tones. This couple appreciated this, and their body language told me to keep on talking. So I went ahead and continued that political conversation, but I did not bring up the leader of the Trump administration or the Trump administration, and I certainly did not bring up 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration, because why introduce conflict into this situation? The hushed tones said it all anyway. I continued, politics has become like professional wrestling. And that's when the man said, "It's funny that you say that. I have worked in professional wrestling for 30 years. I thought I was gonna cry. I had something to talk about with this guy. In case you were wondering, no, it was not Paul Heyman I was talking to, but it was someone who works for Paul Heyman. That's right. WWE Hall of Famer, legendary manager, and overall entertainer. My name is Paul Heyman. Did you know that rock star Billy Corgan is also a bald professional wrestling mogul? Apparently, the world is not only a vampire, the world will put you through a table. The point is that professional wrestling is a mirror of life. There are good guys and there are bad guys, and sometimes the good guys become the bad guys and the bad guys become the good guys. And it is up to us to be able to roll with that and to understand that the storyline changes all the time. We don't know when it's coming, so we should all enjoy the ride together, because the only option we have is to try to enjoy the ride together. The person sitting next to you speaking in hushed tones might be worthy of a conversation. Ask them to speak up, because that initiation might result in a mutual appreciation of a few minutes of ignoring the Trump administration. Day 137 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I am just trying to help myself. I am not going to name names, but I have seen some liberal creators drinking the Kool-Aid. What flavor of Kool-Aid? The flavor that tastes like likes. I see creators abandoning their values and getting caught up in getting views. That is human nature. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how righteous you are, or how critical your thinking is. When you start getting those views, it is intoxicating. Before you try to hurt my feelings by saying, "Josh, that's not something you're ever going to have to worry about," well, maybe that's true. But I have had a taste of hundreds of thousands and millions of views, and everybody wants those views to keep coming in. And when you start posting content that is meant to provoke, well, you have to continue to provoke, even if it means compromising your idealistic beliefs. Do you know some names I will say who provoke for views? One would be the leader of the Trump administration. He does not compromise his beliefs. He is up all night and all day posting what he is passionate about, and that is power, money, and grievance. Those are his things. If he had a fourth thing, it is about fooling you into believing that he is not about the first three things. You may be surprised to hear that another person who provokes for views is Stephanie Germanotta, aka Lady Gaga. But Josh, wait, Lady Gaga? Yes. She provokes for views, but there is a difference. The reason you know that Stephanie Germanotta is Lady Gaga is because she has never hidden who she is. Her first record was titled The Fame, and she made it clear from the get-go that she was here to serve, and serve she has. Unlike the leader of the Trump administration, her beliefs are idealistic, and she does not compromise on those ideals. That is the kind of transparency we want from politicians. We want politicians who get likes because they show us through their actions that they are passionate about making people's lives better. Doing great work comes first for them. And like Lady Gaga, transparent politicians can admit that power and money go along with the gig. That's the Kool-Aid that tastes like trust. I am not always a mindful, optimistic, and hopeful human being. For example, can you find me in my car screaming at the cars in front of me, to my left and right and behind me? Yes, you can. But when I do it, I know that my anger is misplaced. I know it's for venting, not for views. Trading idealism for power, money, or grievance is not what we're here for. So please ignore the Trump administration. Hey, it's Josh. I'm back. Can you believe I would compare Gaga to Goo Goo? which is not a nickname for the leader of the Trump administration, but I think maybe it kind of works because he is a big baby, don't you think? Thanks again for listening. Please leave a 5-star rating for the Josh Bloom podcast in your podcast app and leave a comment saying you like the show. Don't forget to follow, and most importantly, like I say every week, tell a friend. You know what, though? You can also tell an enemy. I have a feeling that once they take you up on that recommendation and listen, you will not be enemies anymore, which seems awfully damn wholesome to me. Lastly, visit me everywhere for everything by going to superjews.com. That's superjerjews.com for links to all of my social media, and visit superjews.substack.com to subscribe to my Substack, which contains all of my long-form writing. Subscriptions are free, or for a small monthly donation, you can support my work. It helps a lot. Thanks again for listening. I will see you next week.